Welcome to the show, and here are your hosts, the diabolical elite gaming guru, the illustrious Red Dead Panda, and the Australian stud Ashtray Gaming. So let's get this party started. Shit.
And we are live.
Hello, everybody, to another episode of the Gamers Initiative Podcast, episode 69. That's 69. We're featuring myself, Red Dead Panda, Ashtray Gaming, and Tim Dog.
Yeah.
Tim Dog.
Yeah. What's up?
How you
You
doing?
alright? You good, mate? Yeah.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here. I love doing podcasts overseas when the times are totally different. But yeah, it's gonna be fun tonight. You guys sound like you got a good crew.
We're all over the place, so as you know, I'm in England, Ashtrays in Australia. You don't know where Red is.
Middle Earth. I'm in Middle Earth.
Yeah. She's in New Zealand. So
Oh,
you're in the
beautiful.
States. So we've covered pretty much the continent.
That's great.
In today's show.
That makes us the biggest show in the world, yeah? Right?
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah.
We can say that. We can say that.
It's a global show.
Global show. We should have called it the global show.
That's awesome, huh?
It's first. So Tim, what have you been playing? That's what we first do. So what have you been up to?
Basically, I've been playing a lot of xCloud. I've been very busy with my new job, and I've been like on the sleep schedule. So a lot of times I've been playing, believe it or not, xCloud, and I've been playing Power Washer Simulator and a game called Ultimate Fight Express. About halfway through that, and when I do have a chance to play at the console, I've been playing Madden. And I'm gonna buy the NBA 2K23 tonight and mess with that for sure on console.
Nice, man. You should jump in and play some Tinykin, which is some gameplay that we've got on the screen at the moment as well. That's a fun game and really works really, really well on the xCloud as well.
I gotta look at it. What's it called?
Tinykin.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll definitely give it a look.
Red Dead Panda actually completed Wash Simulator thingy.
You
Yeah, I
did?
did. The
Oh my
campaign.
God.
I completed the campaign.
It's that's a hard. I mean, I'm like I got a bunch of set up, but I'm like 4 in, and like each time it gets progressively like
Harder.
more and more and more.
Tedious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
more
it
time
does.
consuming. Like you're like, oh my God.
The last one, which is like a pyramid, is probably the one I spent the most amount of time on, and it was awful. How long that took, but I was like, I've already started it. I need to complete it. Yeah, and then I was like, what's going to be the next one? And it's like campaign completed. I'm like, thank God. Because it got a bit tedious towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a bit
see
long
that.
in the tooth. Yeah.
But it was still fun for what I'm probably gonna play it tonight. Even you talking about it, I'm up to the point where it's like a old stone house, and it's like looks like a church. I did the playground. I did the cars. I like the small ones.
You're really at the beginning. There's lots after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not power washing right because I
you
need
been
better
upgraded?
equipment. Yeah, I've upgraded, but I don't see like I want to see real dividends, and I don't feel like I haven't.
I don't really. What is it? I don't use any of the cleaners products unless I absolutely have to, depending if my power wash is weak or not. But yeah, you start to notice it when you upgrading your actual.
When you're doing the
pressure
heavy
wash machine.
duty,
Yeah, when you
the
get
heavy duty is
upgraded.
expensive.
Yes, yeah, but they do
Yeah.
make a difference. Yeah.
Welcome
So
to
what are you
the
looking
Power
forward to
Wash
playing?
Emulator Show. Yay.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to coming up, Tim? Tim, what games are you looking forward to that's coming up?
Wow, I'm looking forward to really everything Xbox has slated for 2023. I finally will get my days renewed and have a lot of days off, so definitely gonna be playing. There's so many games that are coming to Game Pass. I want to play Atomic Heart, Stalker 2. Even though I heard that got delayed, or it's like they stopped taking pre-orders, understandably.
Yeah. And refunding
Um,
pre-orders.
you know, Starfield really, I have a feeling it's going to be
Redfall.
special.
I'm actually
Redfall
pretty.
looks
I'm
really
pretty
good.
excited for that now. Yeah, because it looks like I've been saying
Forza, I think is going to
Forza.
blow. Like I think,
Yeah.
like when Forza happens, I think when people say, "Oh, you don't have a next generation game," I think when Forza hits, that talk is going to be really shut down. Like
Oh yeah.
from what I'm hearing, it's going to not the shame on the GT7 dev Palafity, but it's going to make them look like it's a big step up. I'm hearing.
Go devs. I mean, their game was cross platform. I mean, not cross gen. Sorry, platform.
Mhm.
Where's my brain? But yeah, I agree. Even just the snippet that we saw of Forza Motorsports looked amazing in comparison to what we saw from
Yeah.
GT7.
Yeah,
Toxic.
there's so many there's so many games though. Honestly, for Xbox, I listen. I admit 2022 has been like really rough, and I mean they have had filler games for sure, but their heavy hitters they're about to burst, and I'm really looking forward. Like I'm looking forward to all those games, the big three, plus a lot like the other games that they have on Game Pass, like Wulong and
Oh yeah,
these
we're
games
long.
that the Lies of P.
Mm.
I mean, it's just they're just gonna be it's gonna be interesting next year.
Yeah, we're long. I'm excited for. And then we've got Figgy coming up, haven't we, this year? What's it called? The high one. The one with the talking guns. High Life. We've got High Life yet to
High on
come, haven't we?
Life, yeah,
That looks pretty fun.
that was originally a Stadia game, I believe. And
Yeah.
Probably.
And they give up on Stadium.
they gave up on it.
Yeah. So, Red, what are you planning?
Well, I finished Tinykins, and I do recommend that game. I say finished it. I've still got like 3 more achievements to get. But I mean, I jumped in because Ashtray and Boba Fett were talking about it, and I kind of just couldn't stop playing it. It was easy to play, easy to talk about, like in a party chat environment, and it's actually oddly quite fun and satisfying. And then you have to go find the pollen, and I couldn't stop myself until I found it all. And yeah, it was great. Loved it. That's basically that. And what else have I been playing? I'm trying to think. I've been playing some Destiny 2, and that's about it, really. I mean, I haven't really been home this week to be on my Xbox because I'm at my parents' house right now. So if for any reason I have to switch over to my phone app on Discord, I do apologize, guys, but I might have to because I left my laptop charger at home. And my parents
Rookie
one was
mistake.
worked. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
very rookie.
I brought everything else
Rookie badge.
except that, and my parents' one isn't powerful enough to charge my laptop. So
That's a
we'll see.
strike. That's a strike right there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we just cut her
Just
off.
mark that
That
down.
makes the end.
Elite. That's not good. But,
I won't be
I
here
think
next
it's the
week.
second strike.
Apparently, it's a strike. I'm gone. But yeah, that's about it. I guess my next game that I'm really looking forward to is Plague Tale's Innocence, because that's what next to come out is in October next month on Game Pass, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
unless
November
somehow
12th,
it gets
maybe?
delayed.
Yeah,
Nah,
that's
I
true.
don't think it'll
And-
get delayed.
And just for
Hey,
others
what's
in
up,
the chat,
King
I'm
Dog?
just going to say rubbish.
Long time no hear from you, Tim.
Hey, King Trash, how you doing?
Chilling, man. I thought I just came by and say what's up. I haven't heard from you, dog, so I'm just making sure you straight, man. I know you're
Yeah,
working a lot.
Yeah, a ton of work. I started a new position, and like I was saying, I don't have much time as of right now to play video games, but it'll change.
It'll change. It'll change. Same here. Same here. I just thought I'd
Yeah.
say what's up, man. I haven't heard from you in a
How
while,
you
man. I'll
doing,
go ahead and
man?
yeah,
Good
it's
to
thought I'd
see
throw it by
you.
and say. Yeah, always,
Respect.
big dog. All right, I'm listening.
Keep
I'll
it
holler at y'all.
later, brother.
Thanks for the support, King. Drop a sub. That one's gone.
Just very quickly for others in the chat, rubbish. I know you always just show up just so I can say that, and you can leave now. Please don't, though. We appreciate your support. Elite, what have you been playing?
Right, I've been playing. That's why I don't join your groups all the times because I've been playing Hunt Showdown, and I play huge games that are PvP games, and I can't
Focus.
I can't focus with other people in chat because I need the sound and need to talk to other people. So I need to start playing sort of the side of games you're playing, really. But yeah, I've Hunt Showdown. Conan's had all new DLC. Rumbleverse, which Ashtray likes, and I've got a new skin for it. We got a new free skin, didn't we, as a bonus thingy?
Who cares?
Oh, I care. Yeah, that's all I've been playing at the moment. I've been like at work a lot. Yeah, should we do a shout out to the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got Smitty Smith, still there, mate. Hello. Others Inc. Infinite Umbra. He's still there. Welcome, mate. Sappho. Grey Monad. Some of these names are hard to read. Others Inc. Dauntless. So we've got Dauntless. Pico Trek.
Muppet.
Who's this guy, Elite Gaming Guru? I've never seen him before.
Yeah. Fantastic. Good choice in gaming streaming. Oh, he's always played the game. Cheers, Muppet. So, should we get... I'm really hot, actually. I'm really hot. Let me go open a window. Should we get on to the first topic?
Yeah.
Should we dive straight in?
That's
'Cause
why
we've
we're
got
here.
a lot of topics for everyone, yeah. So, let me scroll up. I've lost the topics. Let's have a look.
And
Right.
Elite Gaming Guru. Episode 69, as always. Sorry.
You're going to say 69 all the way through the episode.
Basically, that's the whole show's going to be about that, guys.
Your only motive. Xbox noise suppression update puts an end to party chat's heavy breathers. I thought it was just you, Red. It's actually a thing.
You thought it was just me?
Yeah. Who wants to start? Red, do you want to get the ball rolling on this?
Yeah, I'll quickly start it off.
Sure then.
I am part of the Xbox Insider program, the Alpha Skip Ahead ring, because just had to do that, had to go full blown Xbox, and then I'm really excited about this. The reason being is I really hate going into party chats and always hearing all of that crap in the background, and I think this has been long overdue. And shout out to whoever heavy breathes Elite into the mic, and we're just gonna I just don't have to deal with it anymore. Usually I mute them or I turn my volume really down, or I just kind of am like, I'm busy, I'm gonna go play something else that I don't want to be in a party chat with you. Yeah, so I don't have to make those awkward excuses to leave anymore, and it's long overdue. This should have been there last generation, but I'm glad it's here, and it's a quality of life improvement, and it's those little things. Like Xbox is doing really well overall, and now they're just making things better over time, and those gradual improvements just make it the best place to play. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts?
I'm excited.
Well said.
You go, Tim.
No, I just think it was well said. They basically, that's one of the reasons why I do love Xbox, is because they do stuff like this, stuff that's under the radar, stuff that usually have the big stuff that you're talking about, but they're always actively working. I mean, the one criticism I can give them is the DVR. I don't know what's going on with that situation, but
100%.
Other than that, I think that they do a really good job. And this is like you said, a quality of life thing. And I hate to say it, self-admittedly, I can heavy breathe on occasion, especially if I'm tired and I'm focused in on something, and like people have been like, Tim, what's wrong? Yeah, like it's like you catch yourself, but there is a lot of background noise. Sometimes you have somebody who's being dumb or whatever. Obviously, can mute them, but it's gonna be interesting. I am to skip ahead, so I'm gonna try it out myself.
Yeah, give it a go.
I'm just hoping it works properly, to be honest with you, because sometimes features are sort of a bit half-assed where they don't really, really work. But yeah, look, it's things like chip packets and stuff like that you can hear in the background. Other people, fans even. Just if it can suppress some of that noise, it just makes it for a better experience, especially if you're trying to play something and you're sort of focused on it, and you might be in a party chat where you're talking with guys, but at the same time, any extra noise might sort of just throw you off your game a little bit. So I'm yet to see what it's like, but yeah, looking forward to see if it's actually going to work well. So it's a good
People
little
standing
first.
there cooking with their extractor fan on. You're like, what's that?
It's a good little first topic, though, just to get the ball rolling. Just everyone who's in the chat or listening to this after the fact, you are listening to the Gamers Initiative podcast with myself, Ashtray Gaming, Elite Gaming Guru, Red Dead Panda, and our special guest, xCloud Tim Dog. Very good. Shit.
So I'll be honest, I've got not really much to talk about on the noise suppression because I don't really use that.
I'm trying to suppress you now, Elite.
Rest away. So yeah, so I don't even use it, to be honest. But I've never had, to be honest, when I have used it, I've never noticed any issues with it. So, but I mean,
that's because you never play with anyone. You always play by yourself.
Yes, I told you that in private. But
it's episode 69. Everything's coming out now.
Not everything, but I mean that's. But yeah, anything that corrects, and as Tim said, Xbox are on board and always correcting this kind of thing and improving just things over time. And I think it's fantastic. They just continuously just update and improve the unit as it goes on, and then sort of making the Xbox the better thing it can be, the best it can be. So yes, that's a great little topic just to start on to get the ball rolling.
Indeed, it is. And speaking of changes and customization, the Xbox Elite 2 controllers will be customizable in the Xbox Design Lab later this year. So you'll be able to update or change the color of the faceplate. What do you guys think of that one? I don't know if that's what people really want, but it's going to be an option anyway. And that's what Xbox does. They give you options.
Yep. Start off with our guest, Tim Dog.
I think they they said they're going to improve the quality. One thing about the Elites, a lot of complaints, like left trigger or the left B sticks or gets stuck, and or other issues that the make, especially with people. I guess some people grab controllers differently, but some are breaking them. So there has been a lot of complaints. So they said that they're going to improve that as well. This is pretty cool, I guess. It's nothing big. I would do a blue one or something like that. But they did raise the price, I believe, also to 129 US. I don't know how that translates overseas, but they probably lowered it there too. So I mean, it's the Elite's a very good controller, and I love it. I just tend to use the normal ones because I don't know. I just feel sometimes like it's so much that I just kind of like the feel of the natural controller or their normal controller. But I'm looking forward to an Elite 3. I have the Elite 1 and 2. Especially if they can implement some of the stuff that Sony implemented with their technology. Basically, I hate to say it, just steal from it. Not steal, but do what they all do.
Pride.
Maybe that. I don't know how you would categorize it really, but they copy each other sometimes, and I think that I would like to see that on an Xbox controller. I would admit. So, it's not a big deal, but for me, it's it's pretty cool that they did this. People have asked for it, and the Elite controller still sells. So,
yep.
Hey Tim, what was the price of the Elite controller originally?
Originally, it was $179.
$179, because just to give you an idea of what it costs here, it's in Australia, it's $249, so $250.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah, exactly. So a drop in price is definitely welcomed. That's for sure.
Needed.
Yeah, 100%. Because that's a lot of money. That's the half the cost of a Series S over here.
Yeah, that's too much.
You'd hate to.
I know the way it. Listen, I had to ship Xbox Series X to Brazil.
Oh yeah.
Basically, I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yep.
It cost me $1,000. It cost me the console, which is $500, and then another $550 with the taxes and everything. They have so much
ridiculous
craziness stuff, but the way the translations and stuff sometimes hike up the price. But $250 for you guys is way too much. I think you're right. It has to come down.
Yeah.
Well, I think the 2 terabyte card that you can put in the back is $750.
Wow.
It's about $800 here. Yeah.
Wow.
It's about
I don't know how that translates into
it's
the
cheaper
economy,
than a PS5.
but
It's cheaper than a PS5.
It's weird, but it's still kind of on par once you do the conversions and stuff. It just sounds like a lot of money. I mean, it is, but yeah.
It probably isn't as bad as I'm thinking in my head.
Well, look, our minimum wage over here in Australia is about $22 an hour.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like $21. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it sort of sits.
I'm excited for the changing for the customization options on the Elite Series 2, and I think as long as it progresses onto the Series 3, really important, because people, us hardcore gamers who buy those, because I have the Series 1 and the Series 2, we want the option to express ourselves in some form or another, and that may be through the controller that we pick up, and so on and so forth. So like that green's my favorite color. I would love an Elite controller in green. And I agree, quality of life improvements, because I had to have my Elite Series 2 repaired because I had the RB button die on it.
Yeah.
It's repaired, but it's still a bit iffy, and I think they really need to do some build work on that. And I hope that continues on to the Series 3. But I also agree that some of the improvements coming through from the PS5 controller, like the new type of rumble that they've got in there, so improved rumble would be nice on the new controller. But they've also got that cheaper version of the so it's got the Xbox Elite Series 2 Core Edition, which basically gives you that core controller, but you don't have all the components with it. So you don't have the pedals, but you do have the D-pad, you've got the adjustable thumbsticks, like where you can adjust the tightness or tension on them, and you've got the built-in 40-hour battery life as a standalone. So it's like $129 like US.
That's the one that I thought. That's the one I'm thinking of.
$50 or $60 to get the actual accessories pack, which will give you an Elite Series 2 version in total, like complete. So they've got the core one that they said was fundamental to those who like, what could we take out of it, make it cheaper for the people who really want to try this or have a built-in battery. And now you've got the option to actually upgrade to have like the full pack, and I think that's really cool. But you're right, the standard Xbox Series controller that releases with every console is actually really, really, really good. Like when I had to get my controller repaired, I wasn't going back to my Elite one because like I've basically thrashed the hell out of that. And I was just using a standard series controller, and they were great. They were absolutely awesome, and they're really, really well made. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the customization? Astro,
Elite
or Elite?
Yeah.
Elite's been quiet. Yeah.
Elite's always quiet.
I just want to let Red talk, otherwise she tells me I'm just like it's like when the wife talks, I'm just silent. I had the Elite one. I had 3 Elite ones, I think, and I did have problems with the buttons and stuff like that. I think the right button would always break on them. I'm hoping this one would be more robust and stuff. I think there was a bit problems, but I'm happy for the sort of alterations that you can make to it, the optimization stuff. I'm well on board with that, making me kind of things like that. So where will I buy one? I'm not sure. The only problem with these, they never seem to drop in price, controllers, do they? They seem to hold their price. So that's the only problem. You can't.
Well, I remember a story. I remember from I think it was when I was at E3 or with an engineer or I don't remember the person, but I thought it was very interesting. They talked about how when they made the controller, they put the controller in people's hands, and how certain people hold it a certain way, and then other people hold it like where they wrench it, like they basically like they squeeze it in a way, and that person, the people who do that, actually was like would make a problem on the controller. Like, you know, so they had to balance that, and I just thought it was very interesting to when I heard that, because I do watch when some people play with a controller, people definitely hold it differently. You know, I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead. No, you go
And I
ahead.
was gonna say, yeah, my son always gets the drift on his sticks because I think I don't know what he does, but I've never had that problem, so I can understand that. Yeah, that some people must just use their controller differently from others, and people have different issues with
Right,
their controller due to
exactly, or certain things that arise where it doesn't arise. I think that's what it was. Is they kept saying? I think that's what the story was. They kept getting this problem, and they couldn't figure it out. And then they actually were like, "Well, let's go to these people's houses." And the engineers actually went to the houses, and they watched, and the people that had the problem had this unique way of holding the controller. Now I don't know if that's one for one the story, but you get the drift. Basically, you know, some of these things can be produced even by the consumer, but that's not the consumer's fault. You know what I mean? They have to fix it, and they have to, you know, adjust to the certain ways ergonomically people hold their controllers. But yeah, they definitely still to this day have a lot of complaints about the Elite. So
yeah.
they got it. They addressed it, saying you know, they're gonna fix it. They usually were good about if you brought it back to a wholesaler or something, they would just give it to you free, a new one. You know what I mean? Because they knew it was like a widespread thing. But I don't know if that's still the case.
I think it's only if it's under warranty at the moment do they just give you an outright replacement.
Yeah,
Depending on where you go,
Yeah.
some people will be like, "Oh, we'll go get it repaired." Other times they're like, "We'll just give you a replacement."
Yeah.
That's what I got. I got a direct replacement at the desk. I basically went up and had it about 8 months, and they said, "What's the problem with it?" I said, "This." They just took my word for it and said, "Yeah," and just replaced it. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah."
Interesting. Hey,
I heard that story a lot too. Like, so I think that I guess they put the word out that like, hey,
Yeah.
these people, you know.
speaking of replacing things, the next topic is I wish the PS5 DualSense controller let me use AA batteries. Now, as we all know, PlayStation controllers have an internal battery that you need to then be wired into the console, and that's kind of their downfall because their battery life is quite short. And they wish that they could have AA batteries where they could, just like Xbox, where you can swap them in and out. Or, I mean, at the end of the day, the Elite controller has, what, a 40-hour battery life or longer?
Yeah.
Which is something that, you know, Xbox really focused on. I believe the DualSense, I mean, you get different ranges, different reception from different people on it, but, you know, some people are saying it's less than 10 hours of battery life.
Yeah.
Tim, you have a PS5, don't you?
I have a PS5, but I haven't hooked it up yet. I still, like I said, I had gotten it when I got my new position change, but like I said, the way the way this is working is kind of like learning the job. So my time is kind of consumed by that, and or just I have to like be on schedule and sleep and stuff like that. Like can't stay up to 3 in the morning anymore. So like I actually might hook it up, but I've talked to many people that I've heard like ridiculous time, like on the PS5 DualSense, like 2 hours. I remember with the DS4, it wasn't very good, and you know, people say like I'm, you know, fanboying or shilling, but I really do like the fact that it does have a double A's. There's been so many times I don't want to charge a controller. I threw it down when I went to sleep at 2 in the morning. It died out. Now I gotta find the freaking thing. If I could just find two batteries, I always like that option to have. So and then I just use it. Plus two, if the battery dies, your controller dies, or you have to play with it with a cord. So that was always I've always genuinely felt that way. But you know, some people say it's archaic, but I just like the option of having a couple of outs when life calls for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't find this thing, and you just want to you have 2 batteries and a remote. You just take it out there, and then you get to it.
Yep. Well, I think
I
that's the key
know
thing
we've
you're
done
saying.
that.
Yeah, I think the key thing you're saying is it's like the choice. You have the option. You can either get the rechargeable battery pack, which will, or you can use the AA batteries. And I think the biggest issue with the PS5 controller is the fact that those batteries will deteriorate over time and hold less charge. And what it has 12 hours of battery life. So over a period of like even just a couple of years, like that article mentions, he's been thrashing it for 2 years and he can barely use it now because it just doesn't hold a charge for very long, and that goes back to low battery. And I was surprised because I was reading it and he's like, you plug it in and you try and watch Netflix or something and then you have to go swap it out for another controller. Like if I plug my Xbox controller in, mine will charge and get enough charge so that it'll still charge and I can still play with it and I don't have to swap it out for another controller and wait for it to charge. And I think they need to fix that as a quality of life improvement for the PS5 so that you can at least be charging and playing at the same time. Obviously that's not ideal for a battery, but at some point that needs to happen. And the other side of it is, yes, the series or the Elite controllers have, or the new Elite controller, the Series 2 has the built-in battery pack, which lasts for 40 hours. But over time, when that deteriorates, it's only going to deteriorate a little bit at a time, and that's 40 hours that you're eating into slowly, whereas 12 hours when you eat into it doesn't amount to much. When people who play games tend to game for at least like 6 hours at a time. Like I don't do short periods of gaming unless I absolutely have to. There's no point. You get into it and then you have to stop a game. Like, why? But yeah, they really need to fix it. And they haven't even announced with the PS5 Pro controller what the battery life is going to be like in that system. And I think they really need to kind of evidence that they're trying to fix that issue that everyone knows that they have.
Well, that's it, right? But that's why they haven't said anything about the. That's why they haven't said anything about the battery life in their version of the Elite, because they know that the battery life isn't going to be very good. It's definitely not going to be comparable to the Elite Xbox controller battery life.
Yeah.
But what's concerning here is, as you mentioned, Red, the article says the DualSense battery seems to be deteriorating over time, where it once could hold a charge around 12 hours. I'm lucky to get half that in 2 years. In 2 years, the battery is already at half its capacity. Holy shit!
I think this is what happens though. In general, I think if you do anything, if you keep something plugged in, I think it damages the battery. I don't know if you there's a lot of people keep their phones plugged in all the time. That's actually bad for batteries to permanently have your phone or stuff on charge. And I think that's what's happening and just ruining their batteries. That they permanently have their controllers permanently wired in. I think, Tim, you'll agree with me on that, won't you?
100%. Like, I know, just being in the field when I did my other job, a lot of times you come across somebody who had their laptop and they had continuous power going onto it. It gets so bad where if you take that power off, the whole thing powers down because it forgets to be on a battery and it's always in the standby. But yeah, that definitely damages it. Yeah, it definitely damages it. Just overall, these things deteriorate. Like Red Dead Panda said, 40 hours probably goes down to 28 hours. That's still a charge like big amount of time. Where 12 hours and you're dealing with 5 or 4, that gets annoying. So I don't know. I think that the one thing too, and it is a pro of their controller, is that it's more interactive, or it can be very interactive, especially if you're playing the games that use the haptics and really full scale it out. That's exactly. That's gonna take away that battery life too.
Yeah. Do you think maybe like they did with the DualSense 4, do you think they've overdone on the features? I mean, like the breathing thing. Who uses the breathing thing on it?
Nobody uses that.
Yeah.
The best thing I think is like the resistance. I want to try that. The resistance that you get on the triggers, and I mean, nobody made a big deal about it when Xbox had its rumble features. back in the day. I remember, and then it was like, hey, well, we have haptics, and it's like, well, isn't that the same thing? I mean, there is a little bit difference, or they're close, but I'm interested in the controller. So if I hook this up, I'll probably hook this up this weekend. I'm gonna definitely play that game. It's the free game that comes with it.
Astrobots.
Astrobots. I think that showcases the controller.
It definitely does a great job of showcasing what the controller can do, but I guess for me, because I'm so used to using like hair triggers, that the resistance feature on it, I don't really notice. Like, I had issues where I was trying to figure out why I was doing a stage and I couldn't figure out like why I could sometimes grab onto something and it wouldn't break, and then grab onto it next and it would break, and it was because I had to like half press the trigger and there wasn't enough resistance for me to notice that. And so I guess it's around each individual, and you'd have to get used to it. So you might run into that until you get used to that, because they talk about resistance. It might be different depending on the game as to how much resistance you feel, but yeah, Astrobots Playroom, definitely it's a great showpiece for that controller. I just wish more games used more features.
Well, that's what they all said too. They said that would be the problem, that it's all cool and dandy. I remember hearing that criticism, but developers were really, it's up to them really to implement the things to push it, and for the most part, I don't think they're doing it as much as you would like. But maybe in some cases they do it.
I mean, even with the other controllers, like the DualShock 4, that had the gyroscope feature.
Nobody used that.
I turned that off. The Switch has that kind of feature. I always turn that off. I hate that stuff. Yeah. I just want to sit there and play.
Breath of the Wild.
And just have it. Like, I like the feedback that you get from the rumble triggers. I haven't tried what it's like on the PlayStation 5, so I don't know what those haptic feedback is really. But I mean, some people say it's a game changer. Some people say it's trash. It's hard to really say, but
some people turn it off.
Yeah, well, I mean, Fonz turns all his features off and just plays it normal.
He hates it.
But is it a game changer? I don't know about that. I reckon there's going to be more people probably breaking the triggers, trying to squeeze them harder than anything else. But look, it's good to try things. It's good to innovate where possible. But I don't know if it's going to cause battery life issues. I don't think it's kind of worth it.
I was just saying that was Tech Radar who said that, wasn't it? They're usually quite good and on the ball, Tech Radar. And the Elite controller and the Nintendo controller for the Wii, I believe, they both actually have haptics. The Elite controller and the Wii controller do have haptics in them.
Yep.
It's just the haptics you get in the DualSense is just a different form of haptics, but they're actually all called haptics. So it's just a different sensitivity kind of haptic. So a lot of people seem to think that the DualSense is the first controller with haptics. It's actually not. So.
The Rumble pack on the Nintendo 64, right?
Yes.
Was that?
They're all the kind. If you can actually go onto the Xbox website and look under Elite Controller, and it lists all the functions of the Elite Controller 1, and it says under haptics under the controller, it actually says the header haptics, and then lists what the Elite Controller can do under haptics. So
I mean, Tryhard in the chat goes he wouldn't have enjoyed GT7 without the DualSense controller, and I kind of agree. Like, when the Xbox One first came out back in 2013, right before it launched, I went to a Digital Nations type electronic expo, and the PS4 was there, and so was the Xbox One, and they were showcasing Forza Motorsports 5, and that was when they had the rumble triggers, right? And you could tell when you were on tarmac versus when you went off the road onto the grass. Like, you could feel that in the rumble triggers, and I was like, wow, that's actually quite a neat feature. But it just didn't progress any further from those first-party studios into, like, third-party developers, and that's the biggest thing, is that attachment rate. But you are right, like, taking it back to the fact that I think options are good for the DualSense. Like, I think because that controller eats so much battery life, you either have to turn those features off or get another controller where having the option to like have a charge and play kit or AA batteries, I think they need something for that, or they really need to re-look at that battery life controller, because 2 years into the generation, you're getting half your battery power reduced on that controller. It's just it's not acceptable. Not when you're putting the price of games up, not when you're putting the price of consoles up, and then you're like, hey, you also have to keep buying controllers. It's fine if you're doing it as if you're collecting them, but there's not a lot of other reasons you would be doing that for a PlayStation controller, because they don't have a lot of customizable controllers around that. They've got the different colors and such, but that's about it.
Indeed. You see if you could get your audio a little louder, Red.
Sorry, I'm trying not to talk too loud. Is that better?
Yeah, that's
better. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I should just talk louder. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're slowly drifting back.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. You are listening to the Gamers Initiative podcast on Elite Gaming Guru's channel with me, Ashtray Gaming, Elite Gaming Guru, Red Dead Panda, and our special guest, our very special guest, all the way from the United States of America, xCloud Team Dog.
Yes.
Please, a quick shout out to our groupies. Please share it out. Please drop a like and share it on Twitter as it gets more people in the chat. So let's move on to our next topic. Delisted and defunct Xbox 360 title set to be reborn. Delisted and defunct. Oh, I just repeated what I just said. Be defunct. Delisted and defunct. Reborn. I've just read that all sort of backwards and upside down. Don't know how I did that. So, yes. Any topic? Anyone want to sort of cover this? I've never played the original game, and I didn't sort of look into this news at all. So, Ashtray, go for it.
Yeah, no, I don't really know a lot about it, to be honest, either. I just figured that being able to bring back more Xbox 360 games is always a good thing. So if it's a possibility, then why not? I don't know much about this game, to be honest with you.
To be honest, I'm kind of sorry, Tom. I just want to jump. To be honest, I'm sort of against them sort of keep bringing back old titles. I'd like them sort of push forward with new IPs and stuff. Kind of like with movies. I hate when they keep just bringing up old movies and just rebooting them. And so that's why I was sort of move on. I mean, even Perfect Dark, I'm sure it's going to be great, and they're completely remodernising it. I think that might have been one of our topics. But I was still sort of meh at the whole idea of it all. So, go on. Sorry, Tim. Lead on.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think that they're working on backward compatibility. I think that they said they moved on. But we did see the GoldenEye thing that was supposed to come, and that never came. So I don't know if these games are just, even though they show up on the achievement lists, doesn't always guarantee it. I thought for sure we would have an announcement by now for GoldenEye, but it never happened.
Well, Tim, what about old Bethesda games, or even when the Activision Blizzard deal goes through? What about back catalogue from there? Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, I think it's a possibility with Game Pass and xCloud. The thing about the Activision deal that I see is much more than COD. I think it's more of bringing just the whole entire collection that Activision has, and that includes obviously COD, but bringing it to xCloud and being a day one, those are big things, and having it in Game Pass, having the whole catalog, and then having a day and date after the deal. It seems like the deal runs out in 2024. I think Brad Smith said that. So there is no 2025 deal, exclusive deal for Sony. I don't think they're making. I think they took a year off, or it runs into 2024. So they have one more year. I'm sorry, of the exclusive stuff. But once that it becomes available, where Xbox is getting a day and date, and they have the whole collection, and then also having it on xCloud, and then also having it day one. I could see why Jim. I think Jim. We're going to talk about that, but I could see why that why he's a little bit nervous. This deal it really fits. It really is a if they get the deal done, it's a big deal. It's a needle mover for sure.
100%.
I don't think anybody can deny you can't deny it. The big thing is that is it going to get through? It seems like there's heavy fighting and drama, so it's going to be interesting.
Get into it yet.
Do we know during this period if Activision is allowed to make any more deals, or would all deals be put on hold?
All deals on hold, in my opinion. Good question, though. Yeah, all deals on hold, and then they'll just honor exclusive deals that they've had that were made previous.
Yeah, okay. Because I thought, what's stopping PlayStation from trying to extend that deal? But it would make sense that if going forward, once that the acquisition process was announced at the start of this year, that anything from then on would be on hold. But yeah, I don't know. I just assume that would happen.
Like, I don't think Xbox can say get a game day one at Game Pass, obviously because of COD, but even their other IPs or something. I don't think that, like, the only way I could Diablo 4 comes day one on Game Pass is if the deal passes and gets through. If it's still in litigation and still being regulated or whatever you want to say, it's under this, this approval process. Nothing's going to happen until then. Like no deals. The Sony deal, like I said, for some reason I was thinking 2024 is 2022, but no, they have another 2 years of exclusivity, where they have this exclusive deal. So I don't know. Even if they do it'd be very interesting to see. But I would think that they would get it in Game Pass and they would just still honor their exclusive deal. I mean, are we want to go into this or?
Yeah, we do it now.
Yeah, might as well. Yep.
Are we dropping it? Go on.
Yeah, what's
Tim
talking about?
We're going straight into the.
We're gonna go straight into the
Tim's fired up now. He wants a piece of Jim.
Jump into it.
I was fired up about it because obviously his comments, obviously breaking NDA and basically saying Phil's flapping his gums, so this gives me a way to take a mile and just to sport himself for public opinion like he did. And just the reaction that I saw from Xbox, where nobody was having it, really cool stuff I saw from the community. Just like saying bullshit. This is a guy that's been doing this and that for years, and now he's making these comments. But it just goes to show you that the deal is that big, and that that's how big they view it, and you could argue maybe even too much, because I think Sony's a very formidable competitor, even if they didn't have COD. But in my heart of hearts, I don't think Sony's ever going to be without COD. But people have to understand that Xbox has something that they have to get from this deal, and that's return on investment. So Phil, in a position of power, has to at least say, hey, you could have a rolling deal, but you have to pay for it to be on the platform, which is kind of standard practice. And it's kind of funny that, like, Jim doesn't want to play by those rules, and or acted like it was not going to, it was going to come off PlayStation. As far as I know, and I think Jez pointed it out too, they would have handled the same way as Minecraft. It's just that, they probably want a finder's fee to have on PlayStation, which is a price that you pay just to have the game. And Sony should know that, and for him to do that, to open his mouth like that, really came off as shitty, in my opinion, by him.
Yeah.
Anyone can jump in. Look, I think
I've got lots to say, but I think someone else should go.
Well, I think Jim's the representing PlayStation, sort of the bully, and they don't like that the the opposition fought back, and now they're standing there crying. That's how I kind of see it.
Me too.
They're not used to being bullied back, if you know what I mean. So he's kind of been like, hang on a second, we're king around here, so what's going on? And they voice their opinion and have a big cry publicly, basically. But I mean, look, I think we all realize how big this deal is. But for him to say that it's inadequate on many levels is pathetic. It is probably the best word I can sort of use for that. And that's sort of it, you can kind of read into that he's lashing out on that. And I think, if anything, adding an extra 3 years to the current deal is actually gracious of Phil. They probably didn't have to do that, but it's going to look favorably on Xbox/Microsoft to do that, to help get the deal through. It's not to say that they won't. I mean, there's still no proof that it's going to be 100% exclusive. And you know what? At this point, I don't care if it's still going to be on PlayStation. It's going to cost them $70. They're going to be PlayStation fanboys are going to be paying Microsoft money essentially. So I'm happy, right? It's going to be on Game Pass. It's a win-win for us over here on this side. If it does become exclusive and it can only be played where Game Pass is at, which Phil has said before, that is where it's going to be super interesting. Because although Sony have Bungie and they're going to probably try and look at making a competitor that's sort of one for one, that's still going to take time. And it's still going to take, even if they come out with the game in a couple of years' time, it's still going to take time for that to evolve to get to the level where COD's at. COD's had decades of it. So, and you've got to build a player base on that.
Studios, too. Multiple studios. It's not like Bungie's Bungie, but you have like these studios pushing out these games in 2-year cycles. And
you need those support studios,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
makes sense that like PlayStation's padding out their studio at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So they won't have a rival for a long time, and they know that, and that's I think also why they're.
Let me ask the panel, you guys, a question. I want to hear from all of you. What was your interpretation of the public reception? Like, I know what I saw, but other people said that some people were saying Jim Pitbull Ryan's, rallying the troops.
Jim Ryan.
I see.
But what did you think of the way people acted and how the reaction was?
To Jim's comments or the deal?
Jim's comments. That day after. I mean, 2 days ago when this all got crazy.
Came out.
Yeah, it was like a day of like...
Well, I mean... I think what I saw anyway was people in the same boat as me saying, come on, get over yourself kind of deal. Right. Grow up. Stop being such a whinger. You wanted competition, you got competition, and now you don't want it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here, but they can't have it all. But I want to hear from Red because I'm sure she's got a lot to say.
It's like you know me so well. I was talking, I was
bloody muted. I didn't realise I was muted.
That was that party chat suppression that I just enabled on Discord without you knowing.
Thought, why is everyone ignoring me? I was forgetting. I'm talking.
You should. You go, Elite. You know I have a lot to say.
Yeah. Oh, go. No, you go because
I have a lot to say. That means you can go make a 3-course meal. By the time I finish, God of War will be out and everyone will be playing that. In my opinion, like just in relation to what Tim Dog said, was just like it was the expected reaction. I guess I did expect Xbox gamers to be a bit more fanboyism in respect to their comments, but they really didn't. They kind of just pulled apart the hypocrisy of the statement and said, you're making it seem like PlayStation is not competing, like it's in this weak state where if COD doesn't exist, PlayStation doesn't exist. Nintendo's doing fine without COD. And then you had the PlayStation gamers jumping on the bandwagon going, Phil Spencer should be sued, should be fired, and it was just like
arrested.
they were going, yeah, exactly, and it's like they were calling Phil Spencer a liar, and I was like, Lion Jim Ryan is a saying ever since he came on, because he's lied to you consistently through We Believe in Generations and for the players and all of this stuff. If you were for the players, you wouldn't have been charging developers to enable cross-platform gameplay. So you have had anti-competitive, anti-consumer practices, and you've been competing in a way in the industry that has really impacted everyone across the board, and now it's happening to you. You want to cry like a little baby and complain about how this is an inadequate deal. It's an inadequate deal because now they're saying that everything that releases for COD will be the same on Xbox as it is on PlayStation. There'll be parity across the board around that, so you won't have all these marketing deals so that you get to play this game 30 days earlier on PlayStation and so on and so forth. You then can see how gamers choose to spend their money and compete properly, because PlayStation is not where COD made its bread and butter initially. The Xbox 360 is where COD took off, and then
Very true.
And people forget that. People have been commenting saying COD's nothing without PlayStation. COD wouldn't be here without Xbox. Xbox was the shooter box. People got in through Halo, then they got into COD, and then when PlayStation got the marketing deal on the PS4.
Yep, the dude bro shooter box, remember?
Yeah, it was 100%. And then they got the PS4 got the marketing deal, and everyone who's a casual who only plays COD jumped ship, absolutely jumped ship. And what's going to happen is people are going to see that $15 Game Pass Ultimate deal rather than a $70 version of COD and jump ship. And then once they're on Game Pass, they're going to expand outside of Call of Duty alone, because they're not going to have the big $70 exclusives price tag on every single game. They've got access through the subscription service, and you're going to find out that these gamers are going to really become proper gamers rather than just COD only. I mean, COD is their bread and butter, but that's the truth of the matter. They did the exact same thing to Xbox. It's now happening to them. They're now crying. And Jim Ryan's comment about it undermining the principles of them trying to get the best version of COD for their players, you've been undermining the principle of for the players for every other platform but your own as a whole. Sony PlayStation. Now it's come to bite you in the ass. Look what you did to Sega. You're still going to be here at the end of the day after the deal. Get over yourselves. You've gotten soft. You weren't ready for Xbox to compete. They've been playing the long game, and now you look stupid because of all the anti-consumer processes and all the costs you're putting onto your consumer, including, I guarantee you, that PS5 revision, the what they did when they did the engineering for that, all the costs, the R&D that went into revising the newest version of the PS5 has been passed on to the consumer as a result. Yeah, sorry. I have a lot to say. Keep going.
You make very solid points. I have to say I wholeheartedly agree. You described the situation way better than I did. I mean, like I said, I felt the same way. I felt it was like, I even said something to Jeff, because like Jeff tried to like come in defense, and there was some guys like Derek Strickland. He writes for Tweak Town, and he was like, where would Xbox be? Where would Call of Duty be without PlayStation? And then like people were bringing up like just what you said, like how it was the Dude Bro box, and how like COD it was all about that. And then the Activision deal, that marketing deal. If you guys remember, we talk about games and stuff. You got no games. Xbox had like 3 games, 3 AAAs coming out. And Sony really had nothing. They had the sparse, as they would say. It was the sparse holiday season. I think they had Uncharted collection, but they did have that Call of Duty deal, and the also they had a Battlefront deal, and that actually propelled them to have a more lucrative holiday season than Xbox. And Xbox was like throwing their hands up, but that's how strong that Call of Duty deal was. You had everyone, YouTubers, Twitch gamers, Xbox One wasn't in good graces back then, and it's probably going to be a complete role reversal when this does happen. I just think it's just going to migrate. Sony will still be playing, but like the tournaments are going to be on Xbox, and I think, listen, especially if they go with the family plan, like that's rumored or is out and partially in other countries, like
it's gonna take
hot.
off.
That's get me on your family plan. I want to play COD. You know what I mean? Like that's the reality, and they're going to bring a lot more to gaming, and I don't think it will. I think Activision will be better under Microsoft, to be honest.
I agree.
The quality will be better.
Yeah, I was going to say, the one of my criticisms about Xbox One, people go about DRM and lack of games. I think one of the major criticisms of Xbox One was them giving up the Call of Duty and FIFA deal.
Yep.
That massively destroyed Xbox. They should never go
early in the generation.
Migrated to PlayStation 4. Yeah, the majority of the PlayStation 4 gamers are casuals that play FIFA for Europe. That's all where the Europe fan base comes from, and Call of Duty, which is basically global, and I think that Jim knows this. Jim knows this COD deal is going to mean a lot to him, and you can see him by his comments. You can see, because he's a money man, and you can see him seeing mentally this money over the next few years draining out of PlayStation, because he knows that is their big money maker. It's not their exclusives. God of War, Spider-Man, Last of Us is not going to make the money that COD is bringing in, and he can see this. And you can see he's almost like on a back foot now, backtracking, going, just coming up with stuff and just trying anything just to throw in the works. Something in the cog just to stop that wheel, just to give them that extra 6 months, year, 2 years, just to slow this progression down.
I think they want COD forever in perpetuity on the console. Yeah,
100%.
And you can see, and Phil's just rocking back on his chair now, and just thinking, he knows the inevitable. He's like,
but believe you that they all saw the comments, and you listen. Microsoft's a very big, close-knit community, the way they are, especially in Seattle. I know, like I said, I know them. I'm pretty close with them, where I talk to them a lot. When you saw nobody talking about the comments that Jim made, what that meant was they're airtight on it. Phil don't want to address it because they know that Jim probably screwed up and broke NDA, and you could say like Phil took a little bit, but Jim took a full mile with his comments. What he tried to induce was a public. I think he thought that the public was going to back him, and maybe guys like Jeff Keighley and these the Sony Sony favoritism sometimes with the media and stuff like
all
that.
The journalists, I think all of them. Yeah.
Right. I think that that he thought that it was going to be like real pressure on Xbox, where in my opinion, the opposite happened. Everyone's like, this crying. Well, first of all, he's put himself in a bad position with price hikes and all the other stuff. They're like, screw this guy, and he's acting like a baby. Who's he to talk? The perception was just that. So overall, though, I do think that on the legality part, that he was, and Hogue Law, I don't know if you guys know him, he talks a lot about the legal stuff that goes on. He's an actual lawyer. He said that Jim did break NDA, and that 100%. doesn't help your position, especially when it comes off like he's coming off desperate, like the madman. I can't have this game. Like he's really
But what does that mean? He'll probably just get a fine or something, if anything, right?
No. When you break NDA, lots of things can happen as the repercussions of that.
Like what, though?
I don't think we're going to hear anything about it to begin with. They're probably talking behind closed doors. But I agree with you a lot, Tim Dog, that he did break it, and he's probably realized he made a mistake. It didn't turn in his favor. But like Phil said, several years, because like they're continuing the marketing deal. They're allowing 3 other years. We know that COD, the developers of the COD, like all the studios that develop that, are quite happy going under Microsoft, because that's going to extend the development cycle for those games. They're not going to release every year, which is kind of nice for them, because then they actually get to put some time and effort into the games. And the last COD was the buggiest, absolute worst COD released in years as a result of this turnaround time they've got of trying to release a game every single year. And maybe, but like saying that would extend it probably out to what, 6 years, maybe 7, where they're going to be able to have that game on. They've got 7 years probably to come up with a game and to kind of combat or be on similar level standing as Call of Duty. It's just interesting, because gamers over that period of time, Call of Duty might die down quite a bit, and there might be a new fad that comes up. We don't know what the future is going to hold. And for him to only bring up Call of Duty and not bring up any of the other franchises that is in the ABK deal just goes to show you how much PlayStation relies on the money coming through Call of Duty. And it really has scared them. But you've got to remember, this isn't Microsoft's fault at the end of the day. ABK, they came and were shopping around, and Microsoft offered the best deal. People forget that, and they're like, Microsoft is doing the dirty. No, they weren't. It's reality. They
bought it at a stock price of 95, which was extremely generous, considering that it was like much lower. And 3 months prior was at 100. Kotick with his antics definitely hurt the company, and all that stuff that went on. The stock price went down, and listen, I think overall, when you look at the deal, I don't think that Xbox should be not. Listen, they could negotiate. I do think that it's always going to be on PlayStation, to be honest. But I think that they have, they have to come to a point where, you have to get either return on investment, or you have to come from a position of power. Like, people are like, "Oh, Phil's a cupcake. He's a kumbaya." You saw the way Phil's a businessman when he came off with that deal. So no, like, he wasn't saying, "Oh, outright, you can have it always on your thing." He said, "Oh, well, we'll discuss it, and then you're probably going to have to pay." And that's fine when you're buying something for that much money, is my point, is you are allowed to return on your investment. Whether or not it comes to that argument of should it be taken off the platform or not, that ultimately is going to be the crux of this whole entire deal. I think that either two things are going to happen. They'll get by and they'll have, few contestations, or they will have, people contesting it. But they want decrees where they want to say, okay, we will do this so-and-so. We will keep this multi-plat for this amount of duration, and or give the ability to discuss further deal down the line. Whatever mode, lawyer mode jumbo will come down. But they might have to make a concession, and that's fine. And like I said, in my opinion, somebody told me, I talked to somebody and said, "Phil, I don't agree with Phil." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I would have gave him 10 years. Because his feeling was, once you got the deal approved, it's just going to be a natural progression that Xbox is going to benefit, because the Game Pass, the catalog, and everything that goes on. Having Sony, which doesn't even have a functional cloud up right now, where you can play games via different devices, it's 2022, where they're going to be in 10 years. And I thought that was a very interesting statement by somebody, in the industry that I spoke to. Like, I thought that was a different tack too, because I kind of agree with it. Like, if you said, okay, we'll keep the deal as 10 years, we'll just have, you'll have it on your system, you can charge what you want, whatever, $70, and we're going to do the Game Pass day and date. That's the biggest thing for the gamer. Not only are you going to get Game Pass day and date, you're also going to get the PC port probably as well, which is huge.
I'd like to actually extend on that point you just made, because one of the things I brought up was, when people walk into a shop, they're gonna see the Xbox, and you can have the option now. Gamers have got the option of seeing COD on the shelf for $70 for the PlayStation 5, and then the console, which is going to be $550 now, sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
So they're thinking, well, you get your I pick up PS5, $550, $70 for the game, and then you're on the other side, on the flip side, you've got the Xbox. You can buy an Xbox Series S because the game's next gen only. You've got Xbox Series S for $250, and then Game Pass, and you get COD. And there's just that massive differentiation of cost there for anyone walking to a store. It's a given. But I was going to push it further. If I was Phil, if he was a really crucial businessman, I would still sell Call of Duty on Xbox and PC for $60 and only charge PlayStation $70 for it.
Fuck 'em. Make it
Wow.
80. Make it $80.
Well, yeah, because they want to pay that and they're happy to. And I think
quality.
Phil, as a shrewd
Well
businessman,
with it is right.
Quality.
You would have
do
a
that.
lot of people crying, but
what argument could Sony have though? You can't charge more for our games.
well,
You can because you created that precedent. You said the quality PlayStation 5, so you can't. So we say we're going to charge $760 for our games, so called 60 on our platform. On your PlayStation, it will remain 70, and then just drop the mic, and then Jim's going to be like, "Oh shit."
I think the reality is they're going to be in a lot of really strong position if they get this deal, and I've heard that if the deal goes through, don't be surprised if they even go further. Like they look futuristic where things are going, and I think Satya really thinks things are good gaming, and I don't really think we can deny it either. Gaming is still not as big as it's going to be. It's going to get bigger.
It's still in its
100%.
infancy, yeah.
It's still, like, it's just like I can only imagine in 10 years when the graphics are what they are, like how like Hollywood movies like at one point with CGI were doing you're going to just be playing these games and they're going to be like movies. It's just going to be like a transition. Right, exactly. Like you're going to have some stuff that,
Uncanny Valley, right?
We've not seen gameplay yet. That's cutscenes.
and each generation is more accustomed to games too. Like I know, like you go back 20 years ago, and like nobody knew what gaming was, or now people just understanding what Game Pass was, and a lot of things. I think you said this, Red, was that Xbox has built themselves up. Whether you talk about Game Pass or just their ecosystem or, xCloud.
Cloud gaming,
Cloud gaming. They just, they built that and it took a long time. And whereas I think that's too where Sony is a little bit caught with a deer in its headlights, where they're like, okay, well, we'll buy Bungie and then we'll buy Savage Studio. Like, I don't see a focused vision. Savage Studio at the mobile studio.
Yeah, mobile gaming.
I find them like all over the place because the writing's kind of on the wall. Like Xbox really, honestly, I think just the way
their roadmap is a lot more transparent than what Sony is doing. We're playing a guessing game with Sony.
They actually have a roadmap. That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are they doing? Like VR is like, I think VR can be good, but I don't think it's going to be a trend center. It's still early.
I've always said
metaverse,
I've always said until they. Oh, sorry. I was going to say until they commit first-party studios putting AAA titles onto VR, it's always going to be niche.
Agreed. That's the best way of putting it, and that's when people, when that really starts to happen, that's when you can really say it's taken off. But I think the problem with VR, or I think like when we talk about metaverse, I don't really know what's going to take us in the future, and I don't think VR. I think if anything, AR would be the thing that could
HoloLens.
HoloLens, or even just AR. It doesn't have to be HoloLens. Could be something made from Google or something. Where like I don't know if you guys remember when the
Google Glass.
Yeah, well, Google Glass was a very good. You're right. That's a great idea. But I think Google Glass now 10 years redefined, and you could like interact with environments and stuff like that. That might be the future. So I don't know. I just find VR as a nice thing, but I don't see it as a future. I do see the cloud and
cost to
gamers.
entry for
Yeah, it's
VR
a
is not
lot.
ideal where we're at. Whereas cloud, cost to entry for cloud, you don't really have it.
$5. Yeah, exactly.
That's because just to jump on the HoloLens, I was in the chat on Twitter. Don't know if you see the news about the military buying into HoloLens, and you see all the
Did
soldiers
they?
walking around with HoloLens on. Have you seen that?
They had. Yeah, I didn't have a deal. They had. I know they had
Yeah,
a government deal.
that's
So
why they're
what
saying
they?
Microsoft's gonna be like ching,
Yeah,
because they're 30k ahead now, 30k a piece. These HoloLenses.
yeah. I
So
think
yeah,
they
if the
went.
military said, "Yep, we'll buy up 1,000, please."
I
It'll
bought.
happen
I
through R&D and
actually.
improvements and bringing the price down eventually over time.
Yeah,
I actually
What?
used HoloLens in New York City,
Yeah,
and it was cool. It was cool, but like way in its infancy. The border, the picture, people would complain about because it wasn't too big, but it was cool. Different. I just think something more redefined. Like I just feel like AR has more potential to be, uh, you know, blow up or in a way where
yeah,
like
it
everyone's
does.
using it because
VR
also
is dated.
you're not taken away from the world. With VR, you're closed away from the world. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where with AR, you have the world in your sight. What
Mm.
was the game with Mario when they threw the ball and everyone started doing it in real life? Do
Oh,
you don't remember?
tennis? Which one? Which one?
No, it was the pogo ball. Remember? Do you remember like 3 years ago where there was it was Nintendo had it or they had this thing that they were throwing the ball and it was like a pogo ball and it got
No.
really big. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it got really big. People were actually doing it in the fields and stuff. They were finding their I can't remember the freaking name of the stupid Nintendo thing. It's Pokemon. Pokemon. Do you
Oh,
remember
you
when
mean Pokemon
Pokemon?
Go with? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I played a lot of
Oh,
that. I still
Pokemon
play
Go,
it.
yes. Oh, I know. Right. Yeah.
Yes. I'm
That
It's
is
still a
sorry.
thing.
insane.
It's still going.
But like that in AR, like imagine that in AR down the line where it's colorful and you could
And the
actually
creatures
find
actually
them.
come out in front of you, yeah, and you're just
Yeah,
You could just put on
exactly.
the
wearing
thing
it.
and walk around and
Yeah,
play
yeah,
Pokemon
exactly.
actually in real life rather than just being in your living room. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, if you scroll up in our chat where our topics are, you can see that I posted the Street Fighter in HoloLens, which looks incredible. There's two people playing Street Fighter,
Oh, okay.
and that
Let me
looks
see
incredible as
this.
a video. Yeah, but
Watching it right now.
Ashtray, have you got anything
I,
to say about the Activision deal?
Of course I do.
Okay,
That's
he's
why
been
I'm here.
waiting. He's
Cool.
been chomping at the bit.
Well,
Go.
look, we know that Jim's upset, like I said earlier, but at the same time, because he knows how much money PlayStation will be missing out on. I mean, just look at all the exclusivity deals or the time deals that they've been doing over the years, and how much that's brought people over to the PlayStation and how much they spend over there. Elite, like you said earlier, it's not their first party games. They don't make their money. It's these third party games, and COD is
The
the biggest.
attachment rate to COD is huge.
They got
Absolutely.
exclusive.
deal.
They got exclusive
And-
Hogwarts deal as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And that's why
Agreed.
I want to see Xbox be more aggressive. I don't want them to be arrogant, but I want them to be more aggressive. Will that ever happen?
compete.
I don't really know if it'll actually get like that. But look,
I think
further to what you said earlier, Tim, though, as well, is because Xbox is part of Microsoft and they're always looking forward 10, 15, 20 years out. And we know, I don't know for a fact, but I'd be pretty confident in guessing that Amy Hood, who's the CFO, would have run the numbers, her and her team would have run the numbers on what COD looks like and how that will play out. So they probably already have a plan on and it could be. I think
Recruitment,
Jez Corden hinted that it could be a rolling 3 years. So I think they'll get 3 years on top of their current deal, and then they'll
Then renegotiate.
renegotiate, and then it'll be
Exactly.
3 for 3 potentially. So
right.
it's they know what they're doing. They'll know what they need to do and what numbers they need to hit. On whether or not they decide to take it off PlayStation altogether, or if it has to be on there forever, or for a set
just
amount of
jump in there?
years. Go for it.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think I said this in a few podcasts back when we first sort of mentioned when the Activision deal first went through, and they said about it being exclusive, being multi-platform on PlayStation, and I back then said, and I think now this is more indication that that's going to happen. I think they're going to keep it multi-platform and hold it on sort of a leash because they're waiting for the market share to shift. So 100%. At the moment, as PlayStation fans keep pushing, but everyone's playing on PlayStation. But when that deal hits and that market share slowly shifts to Xbox, as soon as it's no longer, 70-30 in favour of PlayStation and it switches to 70-30 in favour of Xbox, that exclusive deal will drop. And I think that's what's going to happen. And that's what that's what the rolling is. They'll keep rolling it over till that market share shifts. Then they'll drop it and make it exclusive because then they won't make any money from PlayStation, or the majority of revenue they will make will be from the Xbox. So they won't need PlayStation to support it.
Yep.
So then they will drop that exclusivity.
Yep, that makes total sense. But I think Xbox really need to push marketing.
I think anybody has a history of taking games off platforms. It's been Sony, and they've done it to egregious portions. So, when Xbox is now, doing their own thing with Bethesda, and listen, Bethesda didn't went by without a hitch. I think that people always wanted Xbox to spend more money. And they obviously did, and they saw an opportunity to make a monumental deal where you could get the CEO to sign off on it. $68.7 billion, $5 billion. It really is insane. With Activision, you have Candy Crush, you have BattleNet, you have other IPs, World of Warcraft. It really is a lot of money that they paid, but I do think it. You're not going to just buy something for $67 billion and it not affect you. It's going to affect you, and I think that's what really scared the shit out of Sony. Is I honestly heard, and obviously it's true now, but when the deal happened, it blindsided Sony to the point they had like emergency meetings for like 3 days or 4 days after this all event. Like they were like all hands on deck. I heard that from a good source, because that's how they viewed how strongly they viewed this deal and what Xbox had done. And now you look at his comments, I'm like, you know what, all that stuff that I heard in the beginning was true, because you have basically pleading to the public.
You have 2 years of back-to-back massive deals. That Bethesda deal, I think, rocked the industry big time.
Yeah,
Gamers were shocked by it. And I was like, that's going to be the biggest thing ever. And then when this happened, that just kind of for those who were calling it a nothing burger, as much as you want to damage control, it is not a nothing burger, and PlayStation is telling you it's not a nothing burger. Yeah. By the way, they're calling out and asking for those regulators to really scrutinize this deal, because they're going to be heavily impacted by it. And I think maybe one of the things that they say, if they put in some of the markets, if they put this through and go, yes, we're going to agree to it, but we're going to put stipulations on that agreement and say that you have to keep COD on PlayStation. Doesn't matter how, but I think that's where you're right around the 3-year deal and the 3-year deal and the 3-year deal. They're going to renegotiate that every 3 years, because that's the reality of the fact. That's not a third party. It's owned by Microsoft. Things change within the industry, so you're going to have to renegotiate those contracts over time. And I don't think PlayStation wants to do that in regards to that. They've kind of had this taken away from them and their ability to compete the way they want to. And people are saying Xbox should compete. And now we're hearing Xbox should compete, but not in this way. It's really interesting to see that take on it. And now you're also hearing people going, hey, maybe they'll just make Destiny 3 exclusive. You can't, because part of that agreement to Bungie being acquired by PlayStation was they got to stay independent around how they release their games. Yeah, they have that anonymity around. We get to release our games multiplayer where we want, and obviously for Bungie, they don't want to kind of cut off half of their market in that regard. They're looking at keeping their player base happy. They extended it out to PC, and when Destiny 2 came out, and they've got a big fan base there. And then if they go, no, we're just going to make it exclusive to PlayStation or PlayStation and PC, they've got a lot of people who game on Xbox, and I think they don't want to financially screw themselves that way. And reality is the deal was that they can't make PlayStation can't control Bungie in that respect, so you won't see Destiny 3 become an exclusive.
Is Astro still there? Astro?
Yeah, man, I'm here. What's up?
I was just going to say, you was going to make a point about the marketing.
I was, but I just think that Xbox need to make sure that they heavily market COD on and Activision games on Xbox, so it's on TV commercials, YouTube commercials, on the side of buses, on the side of buildings. It needs to be everywhere. They don't flood enough marketing out there, in my opinion. At least not in Australia.
Agreed, but I think they would really bring out the. They bring out the whole for Call of Duty. That's like, you can't go wrong. You know, a lot of times when they say marketing, it's like a question mark. Like, oh well, will the game be good? But COD's going to improve.
Well, Tim, I want to see a bloody customized Xbox with Call of Duty all over it. That is going to be like a big middle finger.
I think they have all those plans. Honestly, if the deal happens, like let's say in March or June of 2023, not only if the time is right, they could incorporate it with D3, but I do think that they're going to have a whole entire show and a welcoming in of Activision. They haven't gotten to that point because, quite frankly, it's been a stressful situation. I've always kept in touch with many people from Microsoft and Xbox, and we talk a lot. And certain things are kind of off the table. And one of the things that sucks, this has always been off the table because the legalities involved and you can't talk about it. But I could tell that this has been a stressful time for them. And I think you'll see reflection on that if and when the deal goes through. This isn't just Phil. This is Brad Smith. This is Satya. They're really banking on this deal.
Biggest deal in gaming history.
You look at how measured Phil is in the words he uses. Yeah. He is very much trying to make sure he doesn't say anything to cock up the deal.
Right.
At all.
That's why I thought it was surprising when Jim was like kind of using Phil as the fall guy. If you really what Phil said when he you took it apart wasn't anything of he didn't say we're taking it off the platform. He says we will discuss it after a couple more years of, he basically said the truth. But again, I don't think it was about really what I think Jim had a moment where he, I think he read the room wrong. I think he read the room wrong.
Because they've never been in this position. That's why they've never been in the position where they're fucked, and they don't know how to handle it. And I reckon he's probably getting it from all sides at the moment. They're like, Jim, what the fuck? We put you in charge. We've given you all this money. What the fuck? And he's like, Phil, you're
Jim Ryan who plays on games and goes on to sell a remake of a remaster, which is an old game.
Well, not just that, right? Upping the price by $10 a game, upping the price of the console, all these other things that they're doing. It's short-sighted gains. Yeah, they're going to be making some money for PlayStation now, but it's kind of ruining the brand. That might sound harsh, but a lot of people are upset about these things that Jim is implementing within the business. And I get he's there to make money, but he's going about it the wrong way.
Out of the market.
Yeah. And I mean, look, they've got a huge fan base and it's going to be around for a very long time, but I'm pretty confident it's hurting them, and it's again for short-term gains, not long-term gains. So we'll see.
Microsoft
We'll see what
has the
happens.
ability to weather that storm, so I don't think Sony quite has deep enough pockets to weather the storm. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, look, everyone, you are listening and watching the Gamers Initiative podcast with myself, Ashtray Gaming, Red Dead Panda, Elite Gaming Guru, and our very special guest all the way from the United States, xCloud Tim Dog. You're currently seeing some Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels footage on your screens as well. And that game is quite fun. Now, to switch some gears, I think, Elite, what's the next topic? You can jump into whichever one you like if you want. Or he's off getting a drink. So maybe we should talk about... I
thought I was still talking.
Well, that's usually a safe bet.
Okay.
I'm here. I was muted.
Oh. Well, Elite, you seem really confident. You're keen to be talking about the Metacritic scores.
Yes. So oh man, so we've gone from just one hot topic to another hot topic.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, shit. So, The Last of Us user Metacritic scores.
Part 1.
So, part 1. So The Last of Us Rebleached just released at $70.
Rebleached. Oh, I haven't heard that. That's good.
And it's quite stuck. I mean, it just sold really poorly in Japan for a start. And it's just not doing it as well as they made out it would do. I think it's the $70 is just not helping it. And the thing where this is all coming from is the PlayStation fans firstly hated on Survivor. Anyone knows it's a Metacritic journalist.
Australian too, by the way.
What? I had to defend him as well.
Australian. It's an Australian
publication.
I was about to defend the guy, but now he's Australian. Now I just sort of feel in a turmoil.
You have no queen.
Yeah.
Oh, blasphemy. Right. So,
neither do we.
Yeah, nor do you.
Anyway.
So, yes, so Survivor rated the game 6.5, and they were massively hurt by this because he did the unthinkable. He took cost into account. And
how dare he?
How dare he say this game's just a remaster of a remaster with very little change which they promised, and it cost $70, so you can only score it as 6 out of 5. On the flip side, IGN said this 6 out of 6.5. Sorry, no, 6.5. He scored it out of 10. On the flip side, IGN France said this game is definitely a 70. However, because we're big fans of Naughty Dog, we're just going to score it 100, which created no backlash whatsoever. You're allowed to just say this game's trash, but we're going to score it 100. But if you speak factually, then you're a bias. And this just to give more perspective. Survivor is the ones that give games like Ratchet and Clank and the Last of Us remaster and things like that a rating of 9. So the bias is unreal. On top of that, we've got user scores. So they're saying now their user scores have been bombed, which pretty much Xbox's games have been bombed for the past 10 years without any question whatsoever. And this is where the whole complaint is coming from. That's who wants to lead? Who wants to go with this?
You keep going.
You can
keep going.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts on this. I've got none. I was just.
You're an idiot.
Oh my god.
No, my thoughts on this are firstly, let's go to Survivor. As you can just look through their reviews. They're not biased. They oddly are just honest journalists. I know, because they've downscored and upscored Xbox games. They've downscored and upscored PlayStation games based on what they're reviewing, based on what they're playing. And they're probably one of the most, I would say, honest reviewers I've seen. no one seems to question 10s out of 10s when you get what I've just said about IGN France or all these other journalists that just score 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, masterpiece 10 out of 10, or the ones that just all the user scores that just 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, which someone showed that I think on Twitter that there was a guy that scores using the same username, scores every Xbox game a 0 and every PlayStation game a 10 out of 10. So
copy and pastes his statement in every review.
Yep.
For one, and I had this argument with King Thrash because he says reviews are not opinions, they're fact. I said, no, reviews are opinions, and you just take them with a pinch of salt. You do not base your gaming preference on Metacritic. That's probably the worst thing you can do, especially user scores. Go on, Astro, I think I can hear you heavy breathing.
I was just going to say the only way that it's fact is that it's a fact that it is an opinion, and that's about where that stops. But what's interesting is The Last of Us originally scored 95 Metacritic. The Last of Us remastered 95, and now it's 89. And we've seen that even on the Xbox side of things, where a game can be as good or better than the previous game and still score lower, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But I think realistically, there's no such thing as a 10 out of 10. Even if you like the game wholeheartedly, best game you've ever played, I don't believe a 10 out of 10 is a legitimate score. Yeah. And I think that 100%. And I think that when it comes to Metacritic, to get a real number, you need to remove all the zeros and you need to remove all the 10s, and then you get a more accurate number. Yeah. But showing that they score at a 70, but because they like the dev team, they give it 100 is just they're just taking the piss. That's what
The Last of Us is a masterpiece, so they gave it a 10 out of 10, and I was like, or 100, and I was like, but you've said it's a 70, so why would you give it 100? Like, you've basically just contradicted yourself. Remove your review off the website because you've basically said it's pointless and no one should trust your opinion.
Have you guys played The Last of Us? I'm surely by now. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great game. I do think, though, they should have went with a lower price. I think if they went with the $50 price tag, it would be 95 Metacritic.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they released it at full price, didn't they?
And that's honestly, that's greedy.
And they removed the mode.
They had so much backlash from the price of the remaster that they reduced the price of the remaster. But no, they knuckled down and kept it at $70 on the PS5.
Shall I just elaborate on that as well? So Last of Us 1, when it first released in 2013, was $60 on the PlayStation 3. Then they remastered it for the PlayStation 4 less than a year later. So it was remastered less than a year later. 8 months for the PlayStation 4. But they dropped the price. They dropped the price to $50.
They were going to originally release it at $60 though, and then there was so
and
much
people went, "Oh no, you can't do that." Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So they reduced the price, dropped it down to $50, and it had all the modes, and they improved it. 8 years later, they thought, we're gonna we didn't get away with it then. Let's just try it again. Bear in mind, I just want to highlight that Naughty Dog actually wanted to remake Uncharted 1, and Sony said no. And I've done this in the video, and I showed it on my screen. And Sony actually said no, and they said no to remaster The Last of Us 1 would make more money and be easier to do. And that is the quote from
Uncharted,
Sony.
Because the time difference between Uncharted 1 to now versus The Last of Us Part 1 to now is like, and the difference around the engines and what they can do on the new console, they really should have. It's like they're not reading the room and understanding the consumer market and how people
or just don't care.
Get up on your mic a little bit, Red.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And how people perceive everything is. Sorry, blow your ears out. It's just like they're completely ignorant of the fact that they have people who choose to buy games, and also that gamers, for the most part, not the toxic, and I mean absolutely toxic ones who are like, if you can't afford to play on PlayStation, then don't get an Xbox. PlayStation is about a premium service and da-da-da-da-da. Those people are out of touch themselves if they think
they're touched in the head.
And it's got 8K on the box.
You're going to spend $8,000 on this console at least. Anyway, that's what the 8K stands for.
I got it.
Sorry. And it's just like I don't know. The whole thing is just out of touch, and the casual market is not going to spend that much money, and they're going to call it out if they think that they're getting a raw deal. And for the most part, they are getting a raw deal. Less in it in the game, costs more, and it's not worth it. Like Jim Ryan, you said it before, who buys a console to play old games? People are buying a PlayStation 5 to play an old game. It's already available in the PS Plus collection as the remaster version, and you get the added bonus of it enabling 60 FPS. So you didn't really need to screw your consumer base over by charging it again. You should have gone with Uncharted 1. That would have been a much easier pill to swallow, and people would have accepted that, and then maybe later on do The Last of Us a few years down the track, maybe.
Well, here's a question for you guys. Do you think that they spent too much money trying to make the game originally, and they still haven't really recouped that money, and that's why they're doing this? Or is it actually the greatest selling game and they're just trying to capitalize on it? Which one do you think it is?
I think it's Last of Us Part 2. They didn't recoup the money off that. I think that's the issue, and they're trying for quick turnarounds. I think The Last of Us 2, just the controversy of the story, and Joel, if you haven't played it, golf club scene, Joel, not a good mix. Yeah, that's why. I think that's the reason why they've said, let's make a quick turnaround time, shorter dev cycle, get this game out, let's make some quick easy money, we'll put it at $70, enabling the DualSense features. It's like people shouldn't be charged more just because they've bought a more expensive console, the new console, with these features, and now they're playing that game. That game should automatically enable those features because that's where you're choosing to play the game on, where those features are available. You've paid that extra money for those features. You shouldn't have to pay extra money to enable those features. It's the opposite on PC. You get better hardware, you're not charged a premium to enable the use of those extra settings to take advantage of your better hardware. And that's the issue. This is my biggest issue with PlayStation this generation, and I find it really hard to even quantify in my mind at all purchasing the console.
Indeed. Tim, what do you think? Do you think that they're hemorrhaging money? Do you think that, like what Red said, that Last of Us 2 failed and that they're trying to recoup that cost?
I think I think that a lot of things are hitting them, and they're looking for a quick, easy buck, and they kind of know that they have a loyal fan base that maybe will eat it, and it looks like they're eating it. When they don't really complain about $70, remakes that shouldn't be $70. I think it's fair to say it should have not been that price point. It's an older game. It's, there's no multiplayer. So I think that they're trying to do these cash grab moves, these, short term, deals, like, they're pushing out their consoles now at a pretty good rate. Right as it, coincides with the price hike. I'm not here to say Sony is, out to get everyone, but it sure doesn't look good lately. And, they don't really have... One thing about Xbox is when Xbox screws up, they have everyone and their mother telling them that they're wrong, and they're chastised and they have to reverse course, a la Xbox Live price hike. But the same energy, as we all know, isn't applied to PlayStation. And I think that's been the case for many years. And I think it's now coming to a point where, maybe Sony thinks they could take advantage of it. And it's just not cool. And we'll see how it plays out. But, right now, people are going to call out the bullshit. You know what I mean?
I was just going to say, as you said that, actually, I forgot to mention before when we was talking about the Activision deal, is that Jeff Keighley, the way he just backed up Sony and was sort of trying to just play down Xbox and exclusives and stuff.
Well, I had a fight with him on that, but listen, I like Jeff, but there's no doubt about it. He leans Sony.
He has an unconscious bias towards Sony.
Yeah, well, listen, that's okay. You can if he's being fair. You listen. We're all Xbox fans.
I have a bias to Xbox, so
it's just the way it is. But he would never admit that because the position that he's in and where he is in the industry and the show that he has. But he definitely was trying to play to the violin, and I wasn't having it. So were a lot of other people.
Yeah, and I agree with what you say, Tim. But however, unlike us, people in his position should show bias. Shouldn't be going on Twitter and doing like when you see these journalists come out and just say stuff. They shouldn't be saying. They shouldn't be showing they're open biased. I think that's really bad for gaming, especially as he's trying to push himself now as the next sort of he's trying to close down E3, isn't he? So he can push his game of the year and his Gamescom agendas.
His brand.
To promote himself. Yeah, his own brand. Yeah, so he's trying to close everything else down. And this is just another another example of him just trying to close everything down just to push himself and Sony forward above everything. And I don't think, as a gaming neutral journalist, which is what you should portray yourself as, he's just a bad example. And I think, if anything, Microsoft should start shutting him out and stuff. Or he's because he basically does rely on Microsoft. When his games start dropping, he will be relying on them, not Sony, to be showing all these games off on his shows. And I think it'd be brilliant if Microsoft said, no, we're just going to do our own show, not show them at your shows. We're going to show them at E3, the show you continuously just run down and throw shade on. We're going to show them there instead and just not show them at your shows. You watch him have a breakdown then and then just switch sides. But gone off topic there.
All good. Well, just jumping in here very quickly, just for the chat, you are watching Gamers Initiative podcast, episode 69. Keeping it real, we have Astro Gaming, Elite Gaming Guru, and myself with amazing special guests this week. xCloud Tim Dog from the RDX panel, his podcast, which is awesome, that is on every week.
He's RDX channel. He's
on there every week, just want to shout out to the chat. Amazing as always. Great group of people in there, and Jedi Knight Peter has just joined, and Boba Fett has joined us as well. So great to see you guys. I know you've got Pete, you've got your show later on today. But yeah, I thought we'd quickly get into the next topic.
Sorry, I'm just conscious of Tim's time. Tim, I said we only usually run about an hour and a half, but we're really pushing over because we've got some.
I enjoyed it. I can say a little bit more. I mean, I'm probably going to hit the 2 hour mark. 2 hour 2:15. We only got two more. We only have two more.
Push it.
But we have a little time here, so let's just keep it going.
Well, which topic do you guys want? We've got the PS5 redesign or perfect
redesign.
Redesign. Well, if you've been living
charges.
You've been living under
the PlayStation show.
Apparently it is this week. PlayStation has Austin Evans did a teardown and such to show that the new PS5 version, the 1200 series, it's been completely redesigned. It does consume less power. It's got a different heatsink in it, and again a different fan. The disc version is the same weight as the discless version now. So they've put some R&D into redesigning, and this is like the third redesign officially for the consoles, and it's been out less than 2 years. What are your guys' takes on this? I'll get you to start off, Tim Dog, in case you have to gap it, but what are your thoughts on this redesign news?
My only thoughts was, why is the price hike with it? I kind of find that that was the kicker. They're making it cheaper. They said as of last year, they're not losing money on the console. Now you're making the console cheaper to make. And you're coinciding with a ton of, they have a ton of new consoles that are they just took over the UK share, and it all coincides with the price hike. That's the things that stood out to me. It's good that they're making it smaller and everything, and more power efficient. But yeah, it's just the thing with the question to me was with the price. Like that's kind of question.
And Tim, why didn't they shrink the console itself down? It's still huge.
It is.
It's
It
like
is
2 centimeters off the
huge.
motherboard in size, so they could have shrunk
Yeah.
it down. Yeah.
Like any change to the size of that would be welcomed, I'm sure, because it's a massive
Yeah.
console. It's as big as Fonzarelli, I believe. Shout out to Fonz. But so
His Fonz is 2 foot tall.
yeah, that's it. But yeah, so it's using less power. So does that mean, because it doesn't actually say anywhere that the actual chip is smaller? I don't know if anyone's heard that.
It's mostly the heatsink, the silicon, which is done on I think it's 7 nanometer.
Yep.
That hasn't changed. When that happens, and they go to a different form factor, that's when you'll see a big difference in size.
Right. Okay.
So it's not anything with that, but it's making like less metal, less space on the heatsink, saving money here, making it more power efficient, where it doesn't utilize as much, power as the original.
Which means, Tim, I'm assuming, which means then they'll have less chips that are no good. They'll have more. Right.
It'll improve the yield 100%.
Yield. Yep.
Which at one point they might have had an issue because they for a while really couldn't get a console out there at a time where people really wanted the console too.
You still can't find it in New Zealand at all. Like you literally, as soon as it's in, it's gone. There's everywhere else. You basically have to go into a physical store to find a PS5, and there's no other way to purchase a PS5 in New Zealand at the moment.
I think it's like that here in Australia as well.
Yeah, and even in the States, there's a lot of the people that they price hike and they're selling it for $600-$700.
Man, I've seen them on the internet here in Australia for $1,200.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's how hard it is to get one over here.
Sorry, guys. I just want to clarify because I'm trying to get it all just worked out in my head. So this is the fourth version. I'm not really. I know exactly where I'm going with this. This is the fourth version of the PlayStation 5, yeah, and it's not even been out 2 years. So we had the original, we had the release console version, which is the first version. Then since then, there's been 3 different. So this literally is the full version of the console, isn't it?
Yeah. So they reduced the heatsink in the second version. Then the third one had an antenna. Yep, antenna changes on the third, and then this change. Yep. So 4 in 2 years.
So they've had 4 consoles in 2 years. They said last August, that they're making profits on the PlayStation 5, and now this year they decided to put the price of the console up, even though they've drastically reduced the cost of making the console, keep cutting down on the cost and production of it, but they put the price up because inflation.
So what are you saying, Elite? That they're ripping off their consumers? Is that where you're going?
No, they're not ripping off all consumers. Only everyone in the world except America. They're only ripping off the world except America. American consumers, because inflation, there's no inflation. Nothing. Tim can tell us. There's no price increases in America. You're perfectly fine there. It's just the rest of the world where there's inflation. That's why they did it.
Yeah, I think that wasn't a great PR move too. That kind of shows that they don't really value Xbox in the other countries.
They don't see
America,
them as a competition there, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, at the end of the day, they've had a lot of curious moves, and see where this all goes. It's been definitely a rough year for them. I think a lot of the
generation.
I think though, considering it's still pretty crazy how popular it is, it's still definitely the most popular console, but they're taking liberties with that, I think, and that might catch up to them, especially with the forecast of what's going to go on in the next
Resting
couple
on
of
their
years.
laurels at this point, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get that feeling, and they're playing a short man's game, where I've been a part of companies or mindsets in business where you maximize your dollar, or you try to basically price gouge, and that's, I think, they're trying they're teetering with that. With looking at it, I don't think that they should have raised the price of the console. I think that
I don't
will
think so either.
it'll affect them word of mouth, and it wasn't the smartest of moves. I think it was, they had a good price point, and it was a little bit too much at a hard time where, I mean, everyone is kind of having trouble.
Yeah, their wording on that saying, we know everyone else is suffering, but we're going to make you suffer more. That's how I took that statement. That just seemed how horrible that was. Care. But like, I guess if you've watched the video, you looked at the teardown of it. I guess one of the biggest things I say as an improvement there is they actually put metal in the SSD slot where you can, so that'll help with dissipation of heat on the SSD if you choose to expand the storage on the device. And I think that's really should have been done from day one, and they shouldn't have been asking people to buy a heatsink for their SSD, because that's putting another cost onto the consumer as well. So I think that's a big improvement. And this iterative change is good for the consumer around getting a better product. They're getting a better product at the moment, from what I could tell when I looked at the teardown. And so I like components, I like computers, I like all of that stuff. And I looked at this and like I said, this should have been the version that released on day one. 100% should have been the version that released on day one. And again, I still think the console's too large, 100% too large, but it's the better version. And if you were to buy a PS5, it's probably this one you should be getting. And saying that, my biggest gripe with this is, as you said, Tim Dog, it's the price increase right around the time that this happens, and it feels like part of the R&D and the looking into redesigning and those iterative changes and quality of life improvements for the console has been passed on to the consumer due to inflation costs around the world, and the fact that Xbox and PlayStation are competing so heavily in the United States. I understand why they didn't want to put the price up in that market, because then Xbox would have a massive advantage in that space. But yeah, kudos to PlayStation for doing a better job on the PS5 than the previous 3 versions. But again, it's that price point. That's what really grinds my gears in this respect. You should have just taken the L. You've put the prices up on every other respect everywhere else in your and passed all of those costs on to your consumer. There needs to be a line, and your consumers also need to draw a line in the sand and go, when is enough? But they're willing to. They like the brand. They're willing to take it on. And as someone looking from the outside looking in, it doesn't look like a place I want to play. And that's the big thing, is when you look at the whole gaming market or industry as a whole, the actual consumer base, 3 billion gamers worldwide, and only a small part of that is PlayStation. And you shouldn't be adding barriers of cost to entry to your consumers and go, because you know that they'll probably pay it because of the brand name. Stop riding the coattails of your brand name, because we all remember when the PlayStation 5 was first announced, all they announced was the PS5 logo. I nearly fell off my seat when that happened. That was the stupidest things. Announcement, and here's the PS5 logo. And it just feels like that's been the snowball, and that's been how this whole generation has been. Feels like PS5 has become a bit of a joke. As an outsider looking in, that's how I feel at the moment.
Can I just
brand as a
jump
whole.
in and cover inflation? Or people I keep reading and hearing about inflation. That's not how people keep saying it's just inflation. It's that's a buzz name. It's an excuse. That's not how inflation works. As I've covered several times on my channel, inflation works. The two main key points of inflation is, one is demand. So you get consumer demand. So the demand has to be there for a product. Now, PlayStation created that demand by having less consoles on the market and limiting the consoles on the market. So that's already their demand going up. Xbox and Nintendo, that's the reason why their consoles are not going up in prices, didn't have that demand because they didn't have limited stock. So Sony almost created their own demand. So the first point of, you can look this up, the first point of inflation is demand. The second one is, the key point is consumers are willing to pay the inflation rate. That's another thing Xbox gamers and PC gamers and Nintendo gamers are not willing to do. They're not willing to willingly just pay whatever. Sony fans are. Sony fans have actually openly said, yes, we'll pay whatever. And that's where the price hike comes from. It's not inflation. It's just they've actually created their own inflation. And the worry here is inflation will start if this is how inflation kicks in. This will be inflation. Is if Sony does this and this becomes a common thing, and then everyone else follows suit and they all rise up to meet to equal out with Sony. That's inflation, where everyone just thinks, yeah, there's all raise our costs and things like that, and that's inflation. That's what I'm concerned about. That Microsoft, Nintendo go, hey, everyone's willing to pay more for games. Let's charge more. Or everyone's willing to pay more for consoles. Let's charge more. That's the concern. That's inflation. That's what I'm worried about. So,
Astro?
that's just me. Yeah, Astro, I think Astro's muted. I think he's gone.
Yeah. I just don't like paying more for less. So
Really?
Sony's not going to get my money this year, this generation. And if I ever pick up a PS5, it'll be used or something so that Sony doesn't get my money. But
Tim Dog's off him.
yeah, that's it. But he's not going to pay $1,000
He's
shipping
not
fee.
shipping that to Australia.
He's learned his lesson there.
Yeah.
Should we throw in one more topic? Tim, do you have time one more topic? Or
Yeah, pick one.
Yeah, one
pick
more.
Pick one.
What do you reckon?
Red,
Maybe play.
You're the lady.
You guys choose.
Xbox head wants to showcase Fable, but Playground Games refuses until it's ready.
Ooh,
During a
really?
recent PAX event, in an interview, Booty touched on the upcoming fantasy role-playing game and said that he asked Playground Games if he could share it, and they said no. Now, apparently, the graphics are going to be on par with Forza graphics because they're using the same engine or something. Is that true?
Who knew we'd be talking about booty during episode 69 of our podcast?
Oh, shit. Wow, chicka
Oh,
wow, wow.
what a link.
Chicka wow.
Yes, that's a link.
Sorry, Ashtray, continue.
No, you're right. So he's obviously excited. He's just trying to amp up some talk around it. We know it's a few years away, but clearly what he's saying is on par with what we want. You know, it's not going to be the graphics from the old. It's going to be new graphics. It's going to be updated. It's going to shine what this Series S and X can do capability-wise. I'm looking forward to it. I know Red, it's a franchise, one of your favorite franchises as well. Yeah.
He made it comparable to Forza Horizon 5, the graphics.
Correct. Yep.
And world. So, like,
That's awesome.
wow. Yeah. But go on, Red. Go. Tim, if you've got something to say, but Red's a massive Fable fan. I'm not, but Red is. So,
Red, take the floor, and then I'll
Take the mic. Take it away. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You guys can go now. The podcast is over. It's my podcast.
keep it
again.
short.
No, I'm kidding.
just be aware of Tim, yes.
Everyone knows, if you've been listening for however long, the last 69 episodes, 68 to be exact, I basically got introduced to Xbox by playing Fable on the OG Xbox and fell in love with it, and then played Fable 2 when my sister was nice enough to get me a 360 for Christmas one year, and then played Fable 3, played Fable Journey, played Fable Legends when it was like in beta, and then Lionhead Studios got closed down, and I cried myself to sleep for a while. I didn't, but I felt like I should have. When Playground Games was announced to be doing this, I nearly died. Just the announcement trailer, they had the tone right with the frog eating the fairy. It was great. And for me, I would like Fable news yesterday. But in saying that, I have said to the umpteenth time that unless a game is ready, don't show it. don't release it. We've got Cyberpunk as a big example around that of why you shouldn't do it. You've got Horizon Forbidden West has now fixed most of its bugs, and it was delayed, and it was buggy as hell when it released. Like, there's evidence everywhere in the market, that games need to be shown when they're ready and released when they're ready, not when we want them as consumers. We might be chomping at the bit for them, but it's not about us. It's about, are they happy, developers, to show this product that they're making? Is it in a state that we would hopefully not criticize it to the ends of the earth? Because if a game's too early and it's shown, gamers tear it to shreds. And I don't want to see that happen to Fable at all, ever. Because I love that franchise, and I think a UK studio doing it, Playground Games doing it, and I think they're still trying to make sure that the scope and what they want to show is going to be what is a semblance of the final product that releases. And it sounds like, from the comments that Matt Booty made, that we're going to get a good product, but they don't want to kind of jump the gun until they're 100% locking everything in around what the game essentially is going to be released when a consumer goes to pick it up and play it for the first time.
Well, they've got a big job on their hands, right? They've got to try and keep the...
Never made a RPG. Never made one.
Not just that, right? They've got to keep the original fans like yourself happy with the way, the tone, the feel, the look, etc., the humor, like all of it.
The humor's big.
But they also then need, for sure. But they also then need to bring it up into current gen stuff. So they need the graphics, they need the mechanics. I'm a big person about mechanics have to feel good, and they've got to be sort of current gen stuff, not this old stuff. So they've got a lot to work with. It could be hit and miss for some people, but you never know. So they've got a big deal to do right now. So Tim, what do you reckon?
Well, internally, I've heard that they're. I remember talking about like the studios with somebody at Microsoft, and when we came up to Playground, they were like, "Wow, like, they are the ones that really are gonna, open people's eyes." And this was a couple of years back, obviously after the deal was done and they became 2018. So it doesn't surprise me. I kind of get the impression that. They are really putting out some impressive stuff. And I think you have that to look forward to. The only transgression with that is you're probably going to have to deal with a lot of time. Because they're not going to put out something, and even for him to suggest that, he asked, they're not going to put out anything until they're ready. And they're not going to do it until it's up to a certain level of quality. And, they're, by their own admission, they said they want to be recognized as the best developer or one of the best developers on the planet. So with those type of ambitions, I think that the game was going to be incredible, but it's just going to take a long time.
When do you think it'll be ready? 2026, 2025?
2025, I think. It could be 2026, but 2025 is, I would say, the start date.
Yep. So they're sort of aiming for 2025, probably back end, most likely holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, either way, I'll be playing it because definitely one of my favorite franchises as well.
I think they'll do what they got to do. To be honest, they have unbelievable pedigree. They haven't failed ever. From all their games. Think about it.
The lowest rate game, I think, is 87.
Exactly, and that was what the original and the first time IP. It's
and they're not 343.
People say, and the argument by PlayStation fans is that they've never done an RPG before. They've only made races. What chance they have? They just retract that same argument to Guerrilla Games that only made Killzone and then moved on to Horizon Forbidden West and Zero Dawn.
Yeah, so. You have to realize they've hired about they've hired about 180 developers.
Yeah.
They've had over 300 development openings, so it's not the same team. Yeah, they're going to have some guys that can translate and do their stuff. Sure, they can do it, but they're going to hire new talent, some big talent, and
some ex-Linehead people too, by the way.
Exactly, yeah, and I think they're going to represent the UK very well. I think they probably have a shot to be Xbox's best developer. I always remember that when they said that they want to be noticed as the best developer in the world, and that was at a time where like Naughty Dog was just unbelievably hyped, and they've obviously taken a little bit of hits as we talked about. They're still an unbelievably highly regarded developer, and so is Playground. But I think they want to be known as an elite developer, and I love that they are pushing for that, and that's been kind of their motto. And they've done some impressing. Like I said, Matt said what he said, but I've also heard myself that like the holy shit, wow shit is coming from them.
I think if they release this and it hits the 90s, then I think they possibly could be in one of the best developers.
They've done what nobody's done. As much as people say, it would be impressive.
You'd have to put them above Naughty Dog because Naughty Dog is still only on.
I think Insomniac's starting to surpass Naughty Dog in that respect to some degree. In my opinion.
Insomniac is on fire. I agree.
So the two lead runners I think would be Playground Games and Insomniac. I think
Coalition's up there.
Coalition. I would also like to say Ninja Theory. They might be small, I think they punch well above their weight.
Ninja Theory might really. I'm hoping it comes out 2023, but my gut tells me. But I do think Hellblade 2 is going to be. I do think Hellblade 2 is going to be like where we're like.
Drop the mic moment, jaw dropping, eyes popping out of our heads.
My only point about Playground Games and Insomniac though, why they're different from all the others, is that they've both been successful with different genres. Whereas you sort of bring in the Coalition, Naughty Dog, and those other studios, they've only really kept to their one genre that they specialise in, and they've not sort of branched out. And I think that's what puts Playground Games and Insomniac above the rest. So. That's my sort of point on that.
Awesome. I think it's about time we call it an end.
Yeah, I need to go have some breakfast.
Great show.
Well, no, thanks for coming, man. We really appreciate you spending time with us and giving us your thoughts and insights. It's been really good, man. Appreciate it.
We'll do it again. I think the panel is awesome. And you guys really have a real professional sound to you. It's like
thank you much.
Feels like a real broadcasted show. Just very good chemistry, and really good comments and great panel. And thank you for having me.
So we're on RDX next week.
But no, I will definitely. I will. But you guys, I'll definitely come back again. Hopefully, when we get some real. Juicy news and
just some juicy news. Yeah, we haven't had anything this week.
No, there's nothing. It's been quiet.
And hopefully, when I'm at home and I have my full audio setup, and we don't have me having to adjust everything every 5 seconds. Yeah,
I think it's great having Tim because Tim's sort of quite the legend in the sort of the gaming community. So I think it's good having you guys having your support.
We're all a part of the community. We all offer different things. I've just been here a long time. But yes, great show, and I will.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate
definitely, it. Definitely post it up and retweet and stuff like that. And thanks for the chat and everyone. See you soon. We'll do another show soon.
Thank you, sir, and have a good night. Good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Red, where can we find you?
Middle Earth, trying to figure out if Wi-Fi actually exists. No, I'm kidding.
Crowd has left the building.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I have been a little bit more on Twitter recently. I'm trying to actually pay attention to that a little bit more. It's been a bit hard because I've trying not to weigh on too many things because I don't like getting bogged down in all the little nitty-gritty console wars. Because just like crying Jim Ryan, a lot of them are crying all the time in the comment section. So it's a bit hard trying to navigate that. But
see what I posted earlier?
You can find me on Xbox, and you can find me here every week. Hopefully, if I'm not busy, then I'll but yeah, as always, great show and amazing guest. And yeah, when are we going to make Elite a permanent panel member? He's here every week, Ashtray.
That's not happening. No.
Or just moderator. Today. But no, yeah, just what I put. I said earlier on the Twitter when I shared out the thingy that I was under the I was deluded to think all the tears on Twitter were for Queen Elizabeth's death, but it was sadly for the Call of Duty. That's what the tears were for. But yeah, go on, Ashtray. Yeah, there's been a lot of crying. They've all been really upset. So many of them. Yeah. Oh, go on, Ashley, keep going.
No, not happening. So you can find me here every Saturday morning, my time, or it's nighttime over in the UK, or afternoon, evening in the US.
You in your pajamas right now?
No, I'm in tracky dacks and a hoodie.
Oh, okay.
That's tracksuit pants, by the way. Anyway, yeah, you can also find me on.
Songs.
Okay, am I going to do my outro, or are you going to keep interrupting me?
Go on.
The only thing he hasn't said yet is Shazwazza yet.
Shazwazza. Oh, God.
By the way, humans, thongs in Australia is sandals, flip-flops.
Flip-flops, yeah.
Or jandals in New Zealand.
Yeah.
A thong, the American version of a thong in Australia is called a G-string. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Xbox.
Episode 69.
So now you're fucking cutting me off too. Thanks.
Go, Ashtray.
I'm not coming back next week. Fuck this.
Into the stream.
Whatever. You can find me wherever you look for me.
In the club.
Anyway, no, you can find me at Cold Eastwood's house.
That sounds creepy.
This is Cold Eastwood.
Cole.
Welcome to the XNC podcast.
Would you like naked, Cole?
So creepy how uncanny that is.
Anyway, Elite, where can we find you, mate?
Well, here.
In his toilet.
Console
Red,
Warring on Twitter.
Yeah, Red, did you say where you did we cover Red? Red, did you say where we can find you?
Yes,
yeah,
we did. You weren't paying attention.
Oh. Should we get the fuck out of it then?
Yeah, I think we should.
I think we should. If you enjoyed the show, like, comment, share, subscribe. Yeah, as always,
keep
here
it real.
every week.
Great show.
Yeah.
Peace
out,
everyone.
Get a better guest next week, boys.
A better guest, Jesus Christ.
Oh no, that's a bit harsh. Yeah, I didn't mean that too. I didn't mean that.
All right, I'm going to end the stream now. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Bob. Thank you for joining. Please share and sub, like, and
all that kind of